Hello and welcome to the Jess and Scott and You Show today. We are so excited to be here with you. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, staying up late, getting up early, wherever you happen to be to join us today. We are so excited about this program. Are you as excited as I am, Scott?
I don't know how excited you are, but if you're as excited as I am, I don't know how you can contain yourself. And
I know, if I
I'm
didn't have
almost being
I'd be
serious.
everywhere. Yeah. Exactly. So where we're going to start tonight, this show is going to have a similar format to other shows in that it will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But all the stuff you are used to seeing, just toss that right out the window and wait and see what a great program we have for you. Right, Scott?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. I wanted to start the program with a really cool story, okay? Scott and I have been having this discussion. How do we have this conversation about the race to Google+? And I keep going, race? What's a race about? And I freak out, literally freak out. And I'm like, Scott, we can't be talking about a race. It's not a race. And what do you say, Scott?
See, I have to unmute myself, and I can't. All right. So I thought it was one of the most wonderful conversations that we've ever had, because for about that long we were talking about two entirely different things, but we didn't realize it, so we were talking past each other. Do you want me to spill the beans, or do you want to do that?
Don't. No.
All right.
Okay. So once we finally figured out we were not talking about the same thing, it turned out we were talking past each other. Turned out we were talking the exact same thing. Scott was just using the word race, and I was having an actual physical transformation occur when the word race was used. So, so after that dialogue happened, and both of the light bulbs went off on our head, and all of this energy converged, I went, there's a story about this. There is a story about this, and it goes back to my childhood. And I'm going to show the cover of the book right now. It's called Hope for the Flowers. I have a note that says it's 40 years old, so it is not a new book, but it is a timeless story that I read when I was a little girl that I now have on my bookshelf, because as Carter gets a little bit older, he and I will be reading this together because of the amount of hope that's in it and what our roles are as people in this world. So why does this pertain to tonight? You'll see. I'm actually going to listen to I'm going to read you an excerpt of how we're going to get started tonight to do that. And I have one other excerpt at the end to close with tonight. So that'll be a difference than our normal open and close. By the way, everybody, Trina is here with us in the audience. She's watching. The author of this book, we talked to her today, and we're going to talk more about that in a little while. But she's here, so feel free to say hi and jump in the conversation over there and welcome her. This is a really fun time. Okay, so this excerpt I'm going to read. When he came across some other crawlers like himself, he was excited. They were so busy eating they had no time to talk, just as Stripe had been before. They don't know any more about life than I do, he sighed. Then one day, Stripe saw some crawlers really crawling. He looked around for their goal and saw a great column rising high into the air. When he joined them, he discovered the column was a pile of squirming, pushing caterpillars, a caterpillar pillar. And that's where we're going to start our race to the top of Google+.
So welcome to the Jess plus Scott plus You Show, and the name of the show is the GPlus Race to the Top.
When we're thinking about the race to the top, what Scott and I were talking about somewhat was, what does the top actually look like? And I want to know that from you, Scott. What does it look like to you?
Because it is still a territory, it's not a state yet, it isn't an area that has been settled and saturated. It is a place where we can all bring out the very best that we have, and we can all be partners with each other, and we can all collaborate, and it is just one of the most interesting and nice spots to be in at the moment.
I think that every single one of us can be the top of our own mountain, and we can be as involved or not involved or focused on this or that or multiple things, and all of us together, we're not one mountain. We are a whole mountain range of people trying to connect and make a difference.
By top, I meant our highest good. The only way you're going to get attention is if you put out the best content and if you are as magnanimous and as helpful to your fellow Google Plusers as you possibly can. Otherwise, you'll be ignored. That was my case.
But it doesn't have to be a race. It just has to be consistent. And that's where we differ.
Well, all right, I'm going to put I've given you 3 chances to state your case, and you haven't yet, so I'm going to. I thought you took it as a rat race. That we're crawling on.
The thing is, the way you said it, yes. So yes, when I think race to the top, I think how to make money the fastest, not find my journey to give back to the world and contribute in a productive way. And that's where we differ. Differed.
And what I was playing off of was race to the bottom. And I won't mention it because we really ought to be polite here on Google+, but I think that there are some platforms, at least one platform out there, that is a race to the bottom. So that's where my phrase
came from. But I also don't like that phrase because that just means, people are getting put down, and I don't think anybody needs to get put down. But I also don't think we should be so polite. I also think that we have to have opinions, and this might be a whole other show.
We have put together, or I've put together, the Scott treatment that kind of illustrates my point. May I play it right now?
Yeah, let's go. I was actually thinking it's a good spot for this first one.
Yeah, this would be a good spot. So, this is medium drama. I think we're getting good at this, but there are no guarantees. Let's see if it works.
It's much more than just being you. It's being your best self. It's beyond that, too. It's like I believe in karma, that when you give back to the universe that you're going to get in return, and it's not a tit-for-tat sort of thing, it's just that the more abundance you have and gratitude, and that's how you operate in the world, that's just going to come back to you tenfold, 100-fold. So that's my view of content marketing. World-changing, life-changing, trying to be your best self. So much is going to come back to you, and that's when you can start using tools to help facilitate the process to make it scale more effectively. But if you don't start with that heartfelt place, I'd say that all bets are off.
Things have changed, and why have they changed? We have, from a technological point of view, the nuanced approach and the tools necessary to actually work on the web as personably and as closely with people as we did offline. So that audience now is a lot more resistant to the hard sell, is a lot more resistant to the slickness of the packaged approach, and wants basically to either get recommendations through networks and friends, or wants to connect with any kind of corporation at the same level as they would with networks of friends. The good news, and there is good news in this, is that there are practical things we can actually do. The bad news of that is that it's just disruptive. You need to sort of embrace change and start running with it.
And getting to know your competitor, and we were talking about that yesterday, and competitors really can turn out to be some of your best friends if you give them an opportunity. Sometimes your best strengths will come, your best ideas will come from a competitor who's shared something with you. So,
well, not to mention on that topic, I mean, the word I like to use is co-opetition. And working together with your competitors, I mean, you're always doing something a little bit different. So there's no problems really in working together and collaborating on projects. There's more than enough money and people and opportunity out there in the world. So why not work together?
Look what's happening with the Hangouts on air, for example. I mean, there's this little group of people that are all yourself and David and Mia and myself and so many others. We're all helping each other, scratching each other's backs, and our communities are growing because we're drafting off of each other and helping each other and encouraging each other, and yeah, so.
Okay, I still have a bone to pick about this race to the top thing. I tell you what, because I'm serious, it totally drives me crazy, because realistically, if we're all putting our best foot forward, we're acting as individual people. And how cool is it that what we are doing individually, when it impacts the greater good around us, we all get to rise together. That's really not a race. That's more of a hand-holding walk.
No, we had to get on the air before I finally got it, because a race, by definition, is a competition. And
yes.
you have winners and you have losers. And if it's a race, okay, so if it's not a race, then what is it?
Exactly. It's a journey. And we all get to make that journey. And here's the thing. In a place where there's technology and commerce, we not only have the option to be here as individuals, we have the option to be here as responsible, community-oriented businesses that not only help each other in our industry, that not only help each other in our communities where our clients might be, but in the people that we don't talk to in the next town over, in the people in the countries that are just now technologically being able to join us in this place that we take for granted.
How does this relate to the interview that we did earlier today? And would this be a good time to set up for that?
Yes, we are going to show you guys an interview that we put together based off of a conversation that we had with Trina earlier today. And I will tell you, it was one of the funnest things that I have done in a very long time. And when Hope for the Flowers came to mind as part of the conversation, where Scott and I originated the ideas for this show, it came to mind, and I dropped her an email, and she said, call me. So I called her, and we were able to connect and spend some time talking and really get to the essence of what we can do as a community. Now, this is beyond just being on Google+. It's beyond being on social media and other platforms. It's beyond making money in business, and it is beyond the technical, tangible stuff that we have in our world.
When we were thinking about this program and this book came to mind, it was just a real blessing that we could go to the source of this, because this is the direction, this is the higher self that I think, especially Google Plus, is bringing out within us.
Hope for the Flowers was written over 40 years ago. Trina wrote this book out of a journey that she went on and the things that she was seeing in the world around us. Today, she is 82 years old. She is still actively involved daily with activities regarding Hope for the Flowers. And let's see what she has to say.
Okay, here we go.
How much of that self-knowing needs to occur for us to do something that is transformational, like writing this book, Hope for the Flowers, that has existed for over 40 years, and people still have stories, and it's still impacting lives, and you are still in the middle of everything surrounding it.
That's right, I am. I mean, it's a full-time job just to take care of this book a little bit, and the people that contact me, like Jessica the other day. I mean, you know, that's a new one out of the blue. I never heard of Google Hangout in my life, you know, and so here I am on it, and a few days later, it's just an amazing kind of possibility. Environmental responsibility has been my main thing, because if we don't, peace action and environmental stuff, if we don't have an earth, nothing works.
That's your dual, you know, that looks like that's your dual vocation, is to balance, okay, I wrote this amazing book, and now even to have flowers, to go back to the idea of the book, to have the caterpillars, to have the flowers, for us to have this journey, we have to have a home. And taking care of our home seems to have stemmed a natural progression for you into things that you can impact our lives with and other people's lives.
I would say that's true. But I also realize that now that I'm 82, I better focus on these books. I have to pull back a bit here, don't I, guys?
It's all in what you want your focus to be on, which is really cool.
Well, my focus is very distractible.
Yeah, well, and so that actually, Stripe is one of the main characters in your book. Tell us a little bit about Stripe and how he found this whole pillar of caterpillars and what that, how that translates into maybe our story, because then I think we can tie it back to.
Well, I actually have raised thousands of butterflies, but all after Hope of the Flowers was written here in Montclair. Unfortunately, this past summer, I did not see a single monarch.
You did not?
No, did not see a single monarch. Now, 2 years ago, I raised over 1,000. But this is, I think, because it's such a universal image. It goes in every culture. It doesn't need language in itself. That story is universal.
And so caterpillars, they go higher. So they eat the leaf that they want. They go higher and they go higher. And so you created this caterpillar that was like, well, what should I do? Where should I go? And just went into this flow like everybody else did. Yeah.
It must be good because everybody's going there.
Right. And so we're actually experiencing that somewhat, or just beginning to experience that somewhat on Google Plus as an example.
So how do you see that on Google Plus? I mean, how is that necessarily going higher?
Well, we're not there yet. We're just doing what everybody else is doing.
Oh, okay. Well, you could say that with a cell phone. We could say that with television. We could say it with computers itself. We could say it with every technology event.
That's true.
So I don't know that.
But you know,
I don't know that that's exactly correct. Then that Google Plus is that much worse. I don't know that.
And we're not saying it's worse. We're just saying people are finding it. They're noticing it. Other people are already here. They kind of want to figure out what it is. And so here they come. And they don't necessarily know what they want to do yet or how it's going to work for them.
But who wants another technological thing in your life? I mean, most people are stuck with Facebook already and spend too much time on it. We spend too much time on virtual stuff instead of not enough talking to somebody else.
We agree.
Well, for purpose of this discussion, it may be that not all technologies are weighted exactly the same for people, and the telegraph and the telephone and radio and television and then the internet, they have different impacts on people, some more and some less. So the way that society is being affected by the computer and the internet is transforming it, we believe. So that's the question that's on the table today, and we're looking to you actually for guidance to make sure that we don't screw up.
Ha ha. I don't know how you deal with that. I hope we don't screw up, but we're screwing up a lot of other things.
If we're looking then to the people and people who are making up businesses, and now we have technology that reduces the geographic boundaries, if not totally eliminates them. That actually gives us a new way to redefine that box to hopefully, as a group of individuals that care about our earth, that care about other people, to make our society what it is and continue to elevate our consciousness. We can do all of that together through the internet if we were to take the time and we are actually showing up on the internet as individuals.
Yes, we can, and we have to keep then the internet free, because there's a tremendous pressure to be able to censor the internet completely, so that even a program like this would be not allowed.
Okay.
And where you come up when you do a Google search, that's one of the big things. Do you come up first, or do you come up on page 35 or 150? Then nobody's going to find you if you're there. So there's another way of censoring that's coming into play. All right, I'm sorry to be so.
That's okay.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful when I think about these things that God has given me this to work with, which is so positive. So positive. the vision of Hope for the Flowers, that we can all become ourselves, that we can cooperate, just like you're saying. Like the ideal of this can happen. I hang on to that, and I'm giving my life for it.
Going back to our show topic for tonight, this is where I think there may be a race of some kind on Google+, just like there was a race for monetizing and advertising on Facebook and on Twitter. So there is a place for business to be conducted on all of these platforms, and one of the ideals of Google+, Trina, and Scott, I know you're going to jump in and help fill this out, is that one of the biggest controversies at the very beginning of Google+ is that you could not show up as anybody but yourself. You couldn't show up as your business. You couldn't show up as a brand. You had to show up as Jessica and Trina and Scott. And that actually caused people a lot of issue. And I actually think that's one of the first things that was like, wow, we actually get to be here and show up together, and we don't get to hide behind anything.
Well, I find this really fun. This is fun. This is wonderful. I love this.
Good.
I love the chance to talk about these things. Now, I've never quite done this with such a big audience, potentially, but it's wonderful.
Jess, I think we've got a convert here. That's something that Jess taught me, was that if you want to make a point, get really close to the camera. You more so, me really kind of as well, both came of age in the 1960s. And now the energy that I'm feeling in the world is quite similar to where we have a sense that we can change the world, that it doesn't have to stay on the same trajectory that it was, and all we have to do is X or Y or something. Framing it that way, what do you think?
I came to the conclusion. I remember when I was in Paris, I was going to our Grail Center in Holland, and I stopped in Brussels, where they have this major art museum. It's like the Metropolitan. And why did I stop there? It's because it was being occupied by the artists. I haven't heard of that happening anyplace else. I remember asking one of the people there, I said, do you really believe if you tear down the whole old order that something wonderful and good will happen? And he said, yes. So that question, which I think is your question at depth, kept resounding in me. All right, I don't believe that, but what kind of revolution is needed? And so the cover of my book actually dares to say, a tale partly about life, partly about revolution, and lots about hope. For adults and others, including caterpillars who can read. It was meant to be a book available for all ages, and it is. It worked for everybody. And so that was a big deal for me, the notion of the kind of revolution that could change, that would then take action, because the name of the book is an action thing. You become your full self so you can bring hope for the flowers better than you could otherwise. And it has to happen in hearts. If some of these people who never get enough money can't change their attitudes, where are we going to go? Some of those people have to do it. They have to see that corporations need to be serving the common good, like they did in the very beginning. Their charter was reviewed over and over again. And if they didn't take care of the local community, their charter was stripped from them. Now, how do we get back to a thing like that when the corporations now dominate our government? I don't know.
Do you smell a change in the air? Do you think that there's going to be a different route that we're going to choose? Or are you pessimistic about the future?
My middle name is supposed to be Hope, so I'm never going to give in to that one. I'm going to always hope that the better world that is possible can happen. And I will work for that until my dying breath. But I get very discouraged when I see all these news and see all these wars and see all of our interventions every place and see the money going for the military, which is not even discussed as we discuss the budgets. It's a very hard question that you're asking. This is not simple stuff. I don't have a quick and easy answer for any of it. But I'm trying, and I try to work with people. I'm working with people from their 20s on up. And I feel the same age as they are, actually. I feel the same age when I'm working with them. It doesn't matter to me. We're all in this together. We're all in this soup together. And I just hope that the children can grow up in a world that's better. And it makes me sad to see this situation. And all I can do is to do what I can do and cooperate with other people and make small communities here and there.
And how does this relate back to your book? And how can people take...
It relates back that you don't climb over others to get someplace. You just don't do it. You just stop doing it, and you trust. You trust that community can happen, and trust that somehow you'll make it, that someone will give you a place to sleep, that someone will give you food during those dark times of your own life, and you will do the same for others.
And that's actually one of the pages that I like best. It's towards the end, where Stripe finds a butterfly, and they can't communicate because they're not the same anymore. But somehow Stripe knows. He knows what she's saying, and he trusts that he knows what to do, and takes the next step, and he goes towards building his own cocoon to become his own butterfly.
And he follows her.
He follows her.
The yellow butterfly, the female, was smarter first. And Stripe went back on this awful pillar because he could not stand not to know what was at the top. Okay. So at a certain point, this butterfly flies around the top, and he feels a certain something in it, like yellow, but they can't talk. So he's not sure what this is about. But finally he knows he must go down. He has to go down. He has to do the karma or make up for it or some penance or something. So he turns around and goes down. And this, for me, is one of my favorite pages. As he goes down and looks into the eyes of the others, he sees them for the first time. They're not just steps and blobs that he can crawl over. They become differentiated. They become different. He sees them for themselves, and he starts down in hope. Now, he had some dark times going down. It's not all hopeful. And at the end, he has a big influence, but he doesn't even know it. Stripe and Yellow, at the end, become their full selves. They lay their eggs, but they don't know that the whole pillar dissolves. So this is part of the influence of these two people becoming themselves and risking to become a butterfly. Because it's a risk, folks, to become a butterfly. It means the cocoon. It means you have to give up caterpillar crawling. And that's the only thing you know. So can you give it up?
Thinking about it, I would not want to be an infant again. I really don't want to go back to high school again. And those are minuscule on the type of transformation that you're talking about and that is actually articulated in this, in this story.
Yep, but it's you usually are graced by knowing some people who have done it. That can help you a lot. And that's where community can come in. That's where leaders, people like Gandhi, people like Martin Luther King, people who have done this and have moved and have taken risks in their lives. That's the kind of community that can help us. And we usually have many communities, many little things that hold us together. Because I think it was Sartre who said that we know who we are through the look of the other. It's such a beautiful idea.
And taking the time to see, right?
I don't have the answers for things. I don't have an answer for things. I have no answer for things. I have no way of being absolutely sure about anything, even any of the stuff I've said in this program. But you have to sort of start with your hypotheses that you believe that are right, and you try to live them out, and be open for new information that comes and help shift that a bit. And I don't know, you just dance around with this stuff.
That was only a small portion of the interview that we had with her today, highlighting the most amazing parts of, one, how the story relates to the conversations that drove our desire to have this show, and two, really being able to articulate from a place of knowledge and experience and share with us what we can still do, even when it seems like our technology helps us connect and it decreases the barriers, how do we actually use the decreased geographic barriers to really connect at a one-to-one level and get to know each other so that we can find out and help each other in our communities and be that support that allow us to move through life together and to make a positive impact.
So what came through for me was the concept of communities juxtaposed with being your best self, being your butterfly. And between those two, does what is rewarded through our activities on especially Google Plus lead us in those directions? And Jess, I rest my case.
You're right. You do rest your case. It's not a race.
Okay, you win. You're right. It's not.
Oh.
Remember, we teased last week that it would be, going 180 degrees, but we'd end up at the same spot, and we did, didn't we?
We did, and exactly. And how cool for all of this to come together, And we all have skin in this game. We have been born. We are here on Earth. We are able to contribute in our community in whatever way we want, and our lack of involvement also speaks volumes about where we're at. So when we're thinking about that, we got really big, and we're thinking worldly because we as beings we're beyond our technology, we're beyond our position, we're beyond our families. We are here. And Trina mentioned this, we are here for a purpose. We have a vocation, and it's up to us to figure out what that is and what our gift is so that we can contribute to the greater community, to have that positive impact. And the thing is, we don't need to know what that impact is. We just need to be acting purposefully in a positive way and always making sure we're in the service of others, whether it's in our families, in our local communities, in our groups that we congregate with, whether in real life or online, and then in the greater community, in the next state, in the next country, across the ocean, maybe the sea, depending on where you live, across the mountains. And I think that that's something that we all work together, and our opinions are amazing, and our belief systems are amazing. And so when we think about that, this might be a good time to go, okay, how do we think about that in relationship to our presence on Google Plus and some of the things that we may be doing on this platform and other platforms to communicate that and make those connections? What do you think, Scott? Is there anything else you want to say before we transition there?
Joe Cherney in our event page has a nice comment, apropos, I think. Yep. Treat others as you would want to be treated. It is the same online as off. So maybe that's part of it, is that there is not, we think that there's such a difference between online and offline, and yet those are becoming blurred, because I feel very close to you right now. We now feel very close to Trina, and I hadn't met her before today. You talked to her on the phone, I think. Mm-hmm. So online or off, it doesn't matter. There are certain underlying rules that will help promote community and help us to become our own butterfly. What else can I say?
Nothing. That was
good. I was running out of words.
Nope, it is perfect. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what happens next, Jess?
Let's do the +2 takeaway. All right, so we'll do my fancy graphic. Right, this is someday we're actually going to have an overlay or something like that for a +2 takeaway, but for right now, it's still my beautiful envelope with my words written on it.
And this...
Because Scott tried to be super fancy and give me an animated one, and we never got it to work quite right, so we scrapped it and we're going for something simpler. All right, so one of the things that we've been thinking about, and I'm thinking about how do we bring this back to our businesses, and how do we be responsible, community-driven businesses, because we are businesses that are made up of people, whether we're 1 person, 10 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people, or more. And no matter what, we have to start with our marketing knowledge, and I actually think in some degrees what we are considering marketing is sort of changing, but at the same point in time, it's not. Those basic underlying principles are still what drive us. So you've got your specific attributes of the clients. How do you develop those talking points? By talking to them. However you're going to talk to them, online, on the phone, in a Hangout, in email. It doesn't even matter. What matters is that the more you talk, the more the message is built, and you understand how whatever role you're playing in presenting this product or service to the world, how it helps others. What service is it providing? What solution is it offering? What value does it bring them? And by doing that, we also can go one step further. Not everybody in every organization can make decisions. So if the people that are actually going to use our product or service or benefit from our product or service are the ones we're selling to because that's where our connection is, what can we do to help them along? We can actually create presentations and materials that support them talking to the people in their organizations that have the say. So they don't have to create it all on their own. We're all strapped for time. We're all trying to do a good job. So one way, in a business sense, that we could help those that we're trying to work with and provide value and service to is to help them provide the information they need to the decision makers within their organization. Look awesome and amazing, and you are being predictable. Knowing what action is necessary and being okay taking it. Being worried about what somebody thinks of us actually takes away from our ability to fully discover and help ourselves become who we were meant to be. And on top of that, we can be dependable. We can set a stage for connecting with people in a way that allows us to reach these niche markets and actually talk to them in a way that can build relationships, that can give them the ability to know who we are and what we're trying to do. And the thing is, once we commit to a message and once we commit to this, we want to have the ability to take that tactical action and commit to it for a period of time. Nothing happens starting out from the first few months. It takes a long time. We need to show up. And part of showing up means that we need to be there to respond. And we did have one other snippet to share from Trina that talks about this point. So we're going to play that, and then I'll pick back up where I'll pick back up right after that.
So here we go.
That you are having seen this evolution of our culture and how we interact with each other, not in the country that we're in, but in other countries that you visited, that I visited, that Scott's visited, and how do you see that evolution in terms of what do people need to have as part of, I don't know if tool belt's the right word, but as part of their character to be able to give back and make a difference?
Well, I think they need land. I think the land reform is one of the key things. They need water. They need to be able to grow food of their own, in their own place, and not just have to do commodity exports for the United States and other rich countries. And for instance, Dominican Republic has pretty well hung on to that, even though we're trying to persuade them to just raise sugar. I mean, and stuff like that. So we have to, there's basic needs that every human being has. And if we would be willing to share, we could be providing those.
And Scott put up a picture that apparently was that was omitted from the presentation. And we need to be ourselves. We totally need to be ourselves in how we show up in real life and how we show up online and how we take any action in this world for ourselves, for those around us. If we're always in service of others and we're always acting with purpose, we can show up and spread our sparkle and inspire others and help others along the way. And that's the end of the +2 takeaway for tonight.
Very nice. Well done. Good for you. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. I think I needed to laugh.
Wow. Well, we've worked hard on this and it's come together, but
Yes.
you know, it is live television, and
Yes, it is. You know, one of the things that I am really taking away from this whole idea and exploring this topic from beginning to end, that we're really not at the end of this topic, and we have choices in every moment of every day to work towards our own +1, to work towards the +1 of our business or the team that we're a part of, and to work forward to the +1 of what we want for other people in the world with us today and what we want for future generations. And so we can act or we cannot act, and we can't do everything, so we have to choose wisely in that, and by doing so, it really gives us the opportunity to contribute and connect with people at a different level. Let's become. We're going to become.
We're going to become. Okay. Well, I have pretty much run out of things to say myself.
Then I think we're ready for the close. I'm going to do one more short read from an excerpt from the book. By the way, guys, this really is a great read. It's a longer book, but it has fabulous images, and every time I read it, I'm inspired and I think of something new. I learn something new about myself. I learn something new about the place that I am in my life and the world and the people that are in my life with me at that time. So to close, the gray-haired caterpillar continued to cover himself with silky threads. As he wove the last bit around his head, he called, "You'll be a beautiful butterfly. We're all waiting for you." And Yellow decided to risk for a butterfly. For courage, she hung right beside the other cocoon and began to spin her own. "Imagine, I didn't even know I could do this." That's some encouragement that I'm on the right track. If I have inside me the stuff to make cocoons, maybe the stuff of butterflies is there too. Thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to the continued conversation on the event page. Please, if you like this, share this with somebody that you know would benefit from it. Trina had a great time with us. We had a great time with Trina. Thank you again. And I'm sure that you will see references to Hope for the Flowers and snippets of Trina here and there from the Jess and Scott Show again. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and thank you, Trina.